If no debt ceiling deal by early June, stocks will crash, the economy will implode, and Social Security payments will not go out. According to what Michael Snyder reports, we're being warned that there could be some real serious economic doom at the beginning of next month if the Democrats and the Republicans cannot agree on a deal to raise the debt ceiling yet again. Experts are telling us that the stock market will crash, the economy will immediately plunge into a recession, and tens of millions of Americans will go into their Social Security payments, will not get their payments. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the U.S. debt default would begin somewhere around June 1st. She cannot nail down the date precisely because there is some uncertainty regarding how much tax money will come in over the next few weeks. But what is exceedingly clear is that time is very short, and there are only 4 days when the House and the Senate are both scheduled to be in session before June 1st, so the clock is ticking. And right now, both sides are still far apart on any sort of a deal. Of course, the Republicans in the House have already passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling, but it is not accepted to the Biden administration. The Biden administration has chosen to play hardball, and so we already are facing the possibility of a nightmare scenario. The following description of what could be ahead comes from the Washington Post. Federal workers furloughed, Social Security checks for seniors on hold, soaring mortgage rates, a global financial system sent reeling. Leaders from Congress and the White House are trying to forge an agreement to lift the federal debt ceiling with only a few weeks before the Treasury Department may no longer be able to avert an unprecedented U.S. default. If they fail and the government cannot meet its payment obligations, economists and financial experts predict chaos. According to the Post, there are 7 major things to watch out for if the U.S. debt default actually happens. Stocks crash, a sudden recession, federal workers in limbo, Social Security and Medicare miss payments, U.S. borrowing costs soar, economic problems spread worldwide, the dollar drops along with U.S. prestige. The severity of the crisis will depend upon the duration of the default. If the federal government cannot meet its obligations for a few days, it won't be a very big deal. But if there is no deal for several months, things could get really crazy. In fact, the White House is projecting that stock prices will fall by 45%. Moody's Analytics has estimated that stock prices could fall by roughly 1/5, wiping out $10 trillion in household wealth and devastating the retirement accounts of millions of Americans. The White House has estimated that the decline could be closer to 45%. That would be quite a crash. And imagine that our country what it would look like if over 60 million Social Security recipients did not receive any payments for several months. People would be going out of their minds. The longer a debt ceiling crisis lasts, the more pressure the American people will be putting on their politicians. And I think that the Biden administration is counting on. And of course, there are many Democrats that actually want Joe Biden to invoke the 14th Amendment in order to avoid a debt ceiling crisis altogether. The 14th Amendment, passed by the Senate in 1866, shortly after the end of the Civil War, states, "The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned." Biden says that he has been considering such a move, but Janet Yellen is publicly telling reporters that it would be legally questionable. Biden told reporters Tuesday, "I have been considering the 14th Amendment." He said this after a meeting with congressional leaders at the White House and making little progress on the debt limit stalemate. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen last week, however, acknowledged serious problems with the 14th Amendment as an answer to the debt crisis. There would clearly be litigation around that. It's not a short-term or short-run solution. This is what she said at a news conference in Japan, adding it would be legally questionable. We shall see what happens. In the end, I don't think that Biden will try to use a tortured interpretation of the 14th Amendment to end this crisis. Instead, I believe that he will simply wait for the Republicans to fold like they always do. For decades, Democrats have watched Republicans fold like a $20 suit whenever some major deadline approaches. And there are some Republicans that are already talking like they intend to fold this time around as well. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman, Representative Michael McCall, Republican from Texas, said Sunday he does not think the United States will default on its debt. Appearing on ABC's This Week, McCall said he was optimistic the nation would raise the debt ceiling by June 1st, noting that defaulting would embolden the country's adversaries. Our adversaries look at this very closely. They look at when we're divided, and I think they would have loved nothing more, particularly China, to see us default in our full faith and credit under the Constitution, McCall said. He said, I think defaulting is not the right path to go down. But there is one key difference now. Kevin McCarthy is the one holding the cards for the Republicans, and he does not intend to be steamrolled like other Republican leaders have been in the past. There are certain things that he wants, and at this moment he's saying that there will be no deal if he does not get them. Having said that, I still expect the Republicans to fold. I just can't help it. I have seen it happen time after time, and it's clear that many of them simply do not have the stomach for this sort of a fight. So I believe that doom will be averted because the Republicans will eventually cave in and give the Democrats almost everything that they want. However, I have to admit that there is a chance that I could be wrong about this. Maybe Kevin McCarthy and his team are made of sterner stuff than I suspected. If that turns out to be the case, you will want to keep a very close eye on early June, because that's when things will start to get really interesting. This is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and The Living Life That Really Matters, Commissions Earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before they make any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.